Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for the love that I got on my video that I did yesterday and posted yesterday. I shared some very personal stories on there about my recovery and my mother. And that video meant a lot to me. Even though we were speaking about Colleen Ballinger, that video meant a lot to me. And so I just want to say I appreciate it so much. I got so many kind, supportive comments from people saying thank you for sharing this, and people were sharing stories of their life with me, and I got just so many DMs and some emails yesterday from people sharing stories about family members of theirs that had addiction issues and what it was like, and asking for help and things like that. And so yeah, I just want to say I really appreciate the support that I got on that video yesterday. It really meant a lot to me. So I was getting ready to, well, I was actually listening to my audiobook. So I'm trying to get done with all of the books that I have before I start all of my Christmas cozy mysteries for this season. That was funny too. I mentioned cozy mysteries, and I got a lot of comments from people and a couple DMs from people asking me what are cozy mysteries? And cozy mysteries, it's a genre of fiction, and it's really, they're like mysteries that take place in small towns. Usually it's like somebody that's jaded in a past relationship, or they lose a job and so they have to move back to the town that they grew up in, or their great aunt Susie died and left them a bed and breakfast, and they've never met great aunt Susie before, and they moved to this small town and they always fall in love with the sheriff, and then there's some kind of murder that takes place. But the murder is not, well, sometimes they're violent, but jokingly violent. It's something like, somebody will die by being strangled with a cheddar biscuit at this world famous restaurant in this small town. And then there's romance, and there's eccentric characters, and there's just a lot of dedication to food and pets and things like that. It's very kind of like Murder, She Wrote back in the day. And they're usually series. Somebody asked me, and they're like, I want to go in and read some of these, what do I find? And you can literally Google search cozy mysteries, and it's a huge genre. Huge. I mean, there are authors that have written 10 series, and each series has 30 books in it. But for example, if you are into gardening and you live in North Carolina and you want to read cozy mysteries that take place in North Carolina or the South, that have to do with gardening, you could type in gardening cozy mysteries that take place in southern United States, and it would pull up a bunch of series and things like that. So there's a lot of series that take place in Indiana, where I live, and I have a couple favorites, the Misfortune series by Jana DeLeon is my favorite. For example, it's about an ex-CIA agent that got named in an operation, Middle Eastern operation that happened, and so there was a hit out on her, so they had to put her in a small town to hide her out. And so they acted like she was the niece of somebody else, and they moved her into this house. Nobody knew that she was a CIA agent except for these two older women that had been spies during Vietnam, Ida Bell and Gertie. And so they befriend Fortune, and the three of them solve mysteries that happen in the town, because there's always, it takes place in sinful Louisiana, around a swamp. There's a Catholic church and a Christian church, and they're both running every Sunday to get to the restaurant, because that's where everybody eats after church on Sunday, to see who can get the pie and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I love them. And then my other favorite author is Tanya Kappas, that has the Criminals and Campgrounds series, and it's about a woman that was super wealthy, and her husband left her, and all she got was this campground in Kentucky, which it's very kind of like Private Benjamin, and she thinks it's going to be really upscale and stuff like that, and it ends up being just a complete crap show. And so she turns it in to being really nice, and then she has this manager that runs the campgrounds, and her name is Dottie. And so Dottie is real eccentric, and chain smokes cigarettes, and has crazy hair, goes to the beauty shop every day and all this kind of stuff. And then she's a little dog, and then she's like in between wanting to date like the sheriff in the town and this other guy, and so they're very like simple cozy mysteries that have like an element of romance to them, but like the romance, it's not like hard-hitting, you know, sex or anything like that. It takes like 10 books for them even to like smooch on the cheek. It's very sweet and innocent, but I love them, and it's just really about, it kind of feels like you're moving into a small town and you're getting to know everybody that lives in this small town that's lived there their whole life. It feels very much like that. So if you're interested in reading those, I get made fun of a lot. People, like my best friend Tanya, she all the time is like, oh my god, I can't believe you read those cheesy cozy mysteries. I'm like, Tanya, I love them so much. So anyway, by the way, for those of you that don't know, I have 2 book clubs. I have a true crime book club, and then I also have Peter's book club. And in Peter's book club, I just pick a book or 2 every month that we like read together. I announce it on my BookTube channel, Peter Likes Books. And so for last month, the book of the month was Mother-Daughter Murder Night by Nina Simon. And it was categorized as a cozy mystery, but it so wasn't. It reminded me of like a Paula Hawkins book or The Girl on the Train, things like that. And it also kind of reminded me of some other books that I had like read recently, like these suspense thriller books. It was so fantastically done. It was about a mother, daughter, and granddaughter. So it's kind of like this generational relationship book, but it all took place around, and it was like in Northern California, and it was in this very isolated area, and it was about this murder that happened, and the grandmother and the granddaughter trying to figure it out. And so anyway, it was really good, but I would not consider it a cozy mystery. But if you're looking for a good read right now, Mother-Daughter Murder Night, I literally could not stop listening to it. I listen to books on Audible, so I would highly recommend that. Okay, so then, yesterday, after I was listening to my audiobooks and stuff, late last night after I filmed my video, I started watching Twin Flames on Netflix. I don't know if you guys have seen this documentary. It's three episodes, and it is about this alleged cult called Twin Flames that this husband and wife run, and it started online, and it's really about getting these people to find their twin flame, which is kind of like their soulmate to some degree. My cousin Caroline, who is obsessed with anything that is like a religious cult kind of show, she loves all that kind of stuff. By the way, The Garden, which I'm going to watch tonight, it is fantastic as well. And it's like the Garden commune or cult. So I was watching this Twin Flames last night, and it's a lot about coercive language, and it's a lot about like there's a part at the beginning of it when this one sister is reporting it to the police to try to get her sister to kind of see the other side and pull her out, and the police ask her, they say, is she there on her own will? And the sister says something to the degree of, I'm not sure that coercive control is considered free will. When you watch the documentary, what's interesting about it is the language that the husband and wife use. They very much play kind of like good cop, bad cop. They're very invested in these people's lives. They have them work for them. They have them do jobs for them. They give them a lot of validation, because it's a lot of people that are seeking validation, that are seeking love. They give them a lot of validation, but then they use that to manipulate these people. I'm sitting there watching it as I'm thinking about the Colleen Ballinger video that I had just filmed, and I thought, this is really crazy that the fandom of Colleen Ballinger, her getting in group chats, the way that she was manipulating her audience, the things that she was saying, is almost to some degree cultish, and what she was having people do behind the scenes, and not only at the forefront of talking in group chats and making people, you know, run her Twitter for a day or do those kinds of things, but then even further, you know, like when Adam McIntyre came out with his initial video several years ago, and then she is manipulating conversations behind the scenes to get people to put out things about Adam behind the scenes, and like having these conversations and let me know if he's saying anything and watch him very closely. That happens in this documentary. When people leave and they like leave the fandom, or they leave the cult or whatever, the group, they are immediately followed on every social media. They're put on a list. They're tracked constantly. And it's interesting, like that part to me was like, this is really a lot of what these victims went through with their love and adoration for Colleen Ballinger. It's interesting because I've seen a lot of videos on this, but I really haven't seen many videos where people are referring to the fandom of Colleen Ballinger as a cult that she that she cultivated. But to some degree, it's kind of like these people drank the Kool-Aid. When you see the people, the fans that are still standing by her today, and the way that they are continuing to come for the victims, the things that they are saying, I can just tell you off the video that I made yesterday, which was, I think, very serene and just sitting here in this chair talking to you guys. Like, the amount of, every time, okay, I've talked a lot about being stalked and harassed and working with an attorney and an investigator behind the scenes. Every time that I say something in a video about Colleen Ballinger, it used to be a lot about Trisha Paytas, but now it's mostly Colleen Ballinger. Whenever I say, and it's very the same, a lot of the same people. It's kind of like they shifted their attention a little bit. Whenever I say something or make a video about Colleen Ballinger, it's like it goes up like this. I mean, I literally can like post a video and within a couple hours, I'm getting like a lot of nastiness. So I can't even imagine what it's like for the victims, you know? And, you know, a lot of people said in my video yesterday, like, thank you so much for standing beside, you know, Adam and the other victims and things like that. And thank you for bringing attention. We all should. We all should. I don't feel like that's like a pat on your back moment. Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate it. I don't feel like I'm playing Superman by saying what is right and what is appropriate. You know, I'm going to talk about this PR strategic move that Colleen Ballinger is doing in this TikTok that I watched by mollybmcpherson, which is a PR professional, and I love her TikToks, and it was sent to me by a lot of people where she covered this video. She covered the ukulele video. She's talked about Colleen Ballinger in the past. She's brilliant. She's absolutely brilliant, and I'll link her TikTok below. But, you know, like, I know that this video, this fall vlog, is, I knew it when I watched it. You know, I've done a lot with PR and marketing behind the scenes that people don't know as far as YouTube and things like that. Not to do with YouTube. But I know a lot about PR and marketing, and it's not hard to spot a highly contrived video for PR and marketing and kind of like figure out, well, okay, these are the motives behind it. Because if you know that it's strategic, then it's kind of narrowing it down to why is she doing this. I think it's interesting that so many people, like I looked on the TikTok and the first comment is she also wanted her channel not to be demonetized. It's interesting that so many people are, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, I said it too, that so many people are focusing on the demonetization, but like when I filmed that video last night and I stopped and I was watching it back and stuff like that, I thought there's so much attention on the demonetization, right? There's so many people saying that it's about the demonetization, and this is something that Molly doesn't. She talks about the demonetization, about the making money. Of course, it's a lot about that. But one of the things that was going through my head was something she didn't say, and that was, there's so much attention on the demonetization right now, right? Like, there's so much attention on Colleen Ballinger being money hungry, wanting the ads. It's all about the money, that it almost, like, if all your attention is over here, it almost kind of seems like it's a deflection tactic, right? To stop you from, who is calling me at this time in the morning? It was 1:41 in the morning. You better stop calling me. But anyway, it's almost like a deflection tactic so that you're like, oh my God, it's all about her not losing her demonetization, blah, 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 instead of looking what it's really about. And mollybmcpherson, this PR professional, she talks a lot about the reasons why she did it and why she posted it when she did, which I'm gonna explain in just a second. And I was like, okay, so this is all, like, she wants people to think it's about the demonetization and the money, which I think is why she has continued to post video after video after video. It's her just, let's move on and forget this ever happened. And I think it's interesting when you look at it that way, you know? I also think it's interesting that I think we need more people that are professionally grounded in coercive language and people that their expertise is in that field of what coercive language looks like, what manipulation looks like of, you know, a group of people. Because watching this documentary last night, and no, not watching one documentary makes me an expert. I think if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I am obsessed with watching documentaries. I've loved them for years. But watching this documentary last night, I just was kind of like watching it. I was like, this is so weird. Like the similarities between this Twin Flames religious organization online that's all about making money is very similar to the way that Colleen Ballinger spoke to her fandom for validation, to give her power and to give her money, which is ultimately the end result, right? And so I was like, this is so crazy. Like, I wish we had people that were experts. There's been a few that have come out and spoke, right? But people that were experts in the field of, you know, coercive language and manipulation and things like that, because I think that she is either innately that person, or she has worked really hard to educate herself to be that way. To be able to manipulate that many people, to still, with the evidence that is out there. I mean, I think one of the things that we have to remember is, with the evidence that is out there, for anybody else, they would ultimately be canceled, you know. Like, I talked in my video yesterday, and this is true, you know, in the 7 years that I've covered things like this that have gone on YouTube, the fact that she's monetized these videos, that alone, the monetization of an attempt to apologize, whether it's in a ukulele video that is just so offhand, which we're going to talk about in a second, because mollybmcpherson says something to the effect of why that video is still up, and I was like, oh my god, this is why we need PR professionals, because you are so smart. Like, I would never have thought of that, which is funny because people all the time are like, Peter, you need to start a PR agency. I think the difference is that mollybmcpherson and other PR professionals think from a PR point of view of what they would do and to like help somebody get out of a scandal, and then they can see why she's doing what she's doing. I think what I say is, I tell people what I think they should do to be good human beings from a PR point of view, right? I think that why a lot of people think, oh, like, Peter, you should be in PR. I honestly probably wouldn't be that great in PR, because I always want people to err to the side of being human and really showing their authentic self and being genuine and giving people other chances. Most of the world does not live in that world. You know, most of the world they don't want that. Most of the world wants people to keep it moving. They don't want to look at their idols as people that are faulty or that err. They want a Colleen Ballinger that's going to not acknowledge anything and keep it moving. That's why when Michaela Nogueira came out and she was unwilling to address Lashgate, and she just acted like it was a joke, there were comment after comment after comment on her TikToks that said unbothered queen. People don't really want somebody that is bothered and is going to address it and say, hey, you guys, listen. Because, you know, she addresses going to a therapist in her video and say, listen, I've been doing therapeutic work for, you know, 3 to 6 months now. And the work that I've been doing, first of all, mollybmcpherson references this in her TikTok, that Colleen Ballinger says to some degree something to the effect of that, I didn't necessarily remember this from the video when I watched it, but she said, and I'm not watching her videos going further, I just want you to know that, unless there is something in the video that somebody reaches out to me and says, you need to see this. Like, for example, somebody said her kids are in her newest video, and everybody was saying, well, at least she didn't put her kids in the video, at least she's learned one thing. I knew it was a matter of 1 or 2 vlogs before Colleen Ballinger was going to return to having her kids in the video. I knew that. So I haven't watched the video, but I've been told that people have told me that her kids are in the vlog, so if that's true, that's true. It doesn't surprise me. I don't think she thinks there's anything wrong with that, you know? So anyway, I mean, that goes to show you how much she cares. And listen, you're going to get unedited over here, okay? So don't be coming for me and saying all this kind of stuff. You know, I got a comment that was quickly blocked on my channel, my video yesterday, and somebody said, you know, like, your constant attacking of Colleen Ballinger is bordering on misogyny at this point. People know that that word bothers me, and so I just blocked this person immediately. First of all, I'm not attacking Colleen Ballinger. I'm a drama commentary channel, and I'm covering something that's happening with a YouTube a famous person, number one. Number two, to those people out there that continue to use this word misogyny towards myself, towards Adam McIntyre, towards other people out there that are men that are covering this story, when mollybmcpherson is a woman that is a PR professional in her field, and I didn't see one word about misogyny over there, and she says a lot of things that are worse and alleges a lot of things that are worse than anything that I ever said in my video. I don't know what word you come up with, what you call a woman in that field. Oh, I do know that, but you wouldn't say that, would you? Because that would make you look bad. It's easier to come across as that you're very academic and educated. So what you do is you call a man a misogynist for, or you call somebody a bully for continuing to tell the truth about somebody that you idolize. Okay, now I said this in a video the other day, and I'm going to say it again. I take great insult to the fact that people want to misuse the word, like Oscar, Trisha's co-host, using the word bullying especially somebody from the LGBTQIA plus community, that I myself personally was bullied for 12 years of my life. I just had a profound impact on who I am today and continues to do that. I have worked tirelessly behind the scenes long before I was ever on YouTube with anti-bullying campaigns, went and spoke to schools, went and shared my story, with administrators and teachers and things like that. So when Oscar has done that kind of work, Oscar can get in a video and he can accuse a drama commentary channel of being a bully. Until then, what you're doing is you're minimizing the stories, okay, of millions of people out there that are actually being bullied at this moment, that are living in fear, okay? And I have said this many times, I don't know that I could have lived back then with social media, because the online social media bullying that goes on is, and I see it. I'm not talking about calling somebody a name. I'm talking about over and over and over again intended harassment, okay? Intended harassment. And I call it harassment because that's how it feels to me. I don't, call it bullying necessarily, but that's how it's defined, as intended harassment to hurt somebody, just so you know. But when you do that and you minimize somebody covering a video of somebody as bullying, what you're doing, when there's no evidence to that whatsoever, he was talking about drama commentary channels making countless videos about Rosanna Pansino. There was no truth to that. Nobody was countlessly talking about Rosanna Pansino. You know why? Because Rosanna Pansino don't pull the fucking views, okay? And that's the truth all day long. Nobody cares about Rosanna Pansino except for the people that watch Rosanna Pansino. That's why I got inundated with negativity when I made the video about Rosanna Pansino. And you know what? All those people had never watched my channel before. The people that watch my channel, they didn't know who Rosanna Pansino was any more than I did. So that was bullshit, okay? Number one. Number two, you are minimizing the true definition of that word, and you are taking away the power from somebody that when they are 16 years old or 17 years old or 14 years old or 12, when they are going to professionals in their school and they are saying, I am being bullied, okay? And that professional is sitting at home and she's watching a Trisha Paytas podcast and hearing about what bullying is and that Rosanna Pansino is being bullied. She's going to look at that kid and she's going to think, well, there's not a lot of truth to that. And I know people are like, oh, that is such a stretch and blah, 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 whatever. If you knew how many professionals reach out to me when I mention bullying and they say, I'm a school teacher, I'm a counselor, I'm this. Can you tell me about your experiences with bullying? Can you point me to a video where you talk about it? Can you explain to me why we shouldn't be overusing that word? Okay? A lot. Well, the same goes for misogyny. Okay, there is true misogyny that exists in this world that is really, really damaging to the lives of women and others. And when people want to say that somebody, a man, covering a topic like Colleen Ballinger, who is a predator, okay, that my covering of Colleen Ballinger is misogynistic in nature, you are minimizing the definition of that word. And what that tells me is you really do not care about misogyny whatsoever. It doesn't mean anything to you. So when you want to throw the words out misogyny and bullying to people, without really knowing the true definitions of them and really minimizing those words, what you're really doing is taking away the power of what that word will have down the road. It's dangerous. So I just wanted to put that out there. But I got a lot of comments on my video about talking about Colleen Ballinger as a mother, and I shared some stories about, my mother and things like that, and what a mother, I think, is somebody that leads by example. And a mother is somebody that shows their children what it is to be a good person. I also think that it is interesting that Colleen Ballinger wants to bring up being a mother and needing to take care of her kids when she sure as shit does not care about the children of other mothers, okay? Not to mention that Sinead, Adam McIntyre's mother, has gotten so much nastiness as a result of just being Adam McIntyre's mother. So, Colleen Ballinger, I don't know that you want any, what awards do you want for being a mother, okay? And it's like many women on my video said, just because you can give birth to a child, it doesn't mean that you deserve an award. It's what you do after that, right? It's very much like when I have many friends of mine who don't have biological parents in their life, but like they have an adoptive parent or they have like a step parent or whatever that they refer, to as their mom or their dad. And when talking to them, it's always consistent. What they'll say is, I consider my biological parent I'm not talking about being adopted from birth. I'm talking about like, mom's out of the picture, dad's out of the picture, it's step parent that adopted them or whatever, right? What they always say is, a father is not somebody that's a sperm donor. A father is somebody that takes care of you and raises you and sets a good example, okay? So cry me a river, Colleen Ballinger, that you want to use your kids as an excuse and that you being a mother is why you've taken so much time off the internet, when you literally had no problem being a mother and being on tour, saying your nasty ass jokes and putting people in fearful situations. You literally had no problem being a mother and being in group chats just months ago, okay? Hurting other people's children as a mother. That's how much you care about being a mother. You have had never once come out and said anything about people attacking these people's children or about their parents being attacked. You've never once come out and said anything about that, right? Because you can't, because there's legal and there's PR binding behind the scenes. And that's what you're really worried about. You're not really worried about doing the right thing and being a good person. So when all the people come to her video and they're like, she's such a great person. Oh my God, I love her. I'm so glad you're back. Slay, Christmas present. Fuck you, okay? Seriously? When there are people out there that are literally living through the horrific, traumatic experiences of what they're going through. And like I said earlier, I don't deserve pats on the back for standing on the side of the victims. We should all be standing on the side of the victims. That shouldn't even be a question. That should not even be a question. The fact that anybody is even watching Colleen Ballinger's videos is mind-blowing to me. That you literally have no issue. Grown adults. We're not talking about 12-year-old kids, okay? We're talking about grown adults that can look at the factual evidence and say, Colleen Ballinger was having sexual conversations with minors. There is factual evidence to that. She takes no accountability because it's the right thing to do. She does a, let me get my ass out of this situation with PR and hiring an attorney, okay? Still doesn't take any accountability, still hasn't learned anything, and you guys are singing her praises because what? So if this happened, not only that, but so many of you are going further and further and further. I saw Becky today, people were saying to Becky online, get over it, move on, shut your mouth, things like that, right? Like literally, if that was, like, you are the same people that if Colleen Ballinger got in a video and said that she had a predator in her life when she was growing up as a kid, you guys would literally lose your minds, okay? Literally lose your, oh my God, Colleen, oh my God, I cannot believe this happened to you, Colleen. But she is the perpetrator and you guys have no issue with that. And you're just singing her praises. Wow. I hope that that is not the majority of humanity out there. And by the likes to dislikes ratio, thank God it's not, okay? Because her comment section is as highly scripted as this video was. But I do want to say this one thing because I was getting into this. That she says at some point in the video, because it's Molly McPherson refers to it, that her therapist told her to get back to vlogging. So for those of you that don't know, I'm in pretty intensive therapy. Every week, every other week, or every week, sometimes twice a week, about my OCD, about the accident, and things like that. And I've been in extensive therapy for several years. As well as marriage counseling. My husband and I go to marriage counseling every other week. I share extensively about that and how much it helps our marriage, how much it's helped our marriage, that we were almost going to get divorced, and now our marriage is the best it's ever been. I have no problem getting on video and sharing about every session that I have in therapy. And in fact, my therapist has said that he would get on video with me. And I was like, no, we're not going to do that. Okay, people are already trying to figure out who you are. And people have already tried to schedule fake appointments with him, and he's like, I already know that these are people that are trying to come for you. Okay, you guys have no idea how intrusive it goes. People will literally call him up with names, and he'll be like, they'll say like, oh, like Peter Monn referred me, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and it's like, he's like, it's a number that came from a different state. I'm like, yeah, this is what it is, right? Okay, so, but he and my sponsor both have been willing to get into videos with me. I'm not afraid to show the work. I'll have a full-on therapy session and hit record and hit end with his voice in the background, and you guys can see me and the work that I do and the tears that I cry, okay, and the challenging things that he says to me. And when I'm going through it, he never says to me, yeah, I think you need to vlog more. Like Colleen Ballinger's therapist are apparently telling her, which I got a lot of comments that people are like, she's been talking about how she switches therapists constantly because her therapists never work, okay? Well, there's diagnoses for people that therapies hop, okay? Because they can never find a therapist that tells them what they want to hear. So my guess is that Colleen Ballinger has a long history of therapists that are challenging her and aren't willing to tell her what she wants to hear. They're telling her what she needs to hear, so she has to find somebody new. Well, now she's found a therapist that tells her, you know what, Colleen, you should be vlogging. You miss vlogging. You love vlogging. Really? I should be vlogging? Yes. And you should take up a hobby like making cookies. I should? Yes. Let's ignore all these grooming and predatorial allegations. Okay, I'll just make some cookies and get back to vlogging. What a bullshit therapist that must be. My therapist has never told me to do more of YouTube. My therapist has only at times told me to do less. In fact, I just shared this on a video not too long ago. That there was a day that I was like really tired, and I had my therapy session. They're usually at 2, and I Zoom them from home unless we go and see him in person for marriage counseling. And he said, why don't you just take off the day? Because I think that, and I said, are you therapeutically telling me that I need to take the day off? He goes, you need to take a day off. I said, are you therapeutically telling me I need to take the day off? And he goes, do you need me to therapeutically tell you? Camera stopped, battery stopped. He said, do you need me to therapeutically tell you to take the day off? And I go, I mean, like, yeah, it would help. And he goes, okay, I'm therapeutically telling you that you need to take the day off. So that's bullshit. Okay, any therapist in the world would tell her that she needs to take some time off the internet. Okay, it doesn't take knowing Colleen Ballinger for 5 minutes and seeing that literally every problem that exists in her life is as a result of her being online and fandoms that she has revolved herself around. Why would that person tell her to walk more into the lion's den and do more of that if that's the root of her problem? No therapist would tell her that. That's bullshit. She's not seeing a therapist. She's either making that up or she's got the worst therapist in the world. And I have to tell you that I tend to believe when I hear people say things, I mean, I've been in so much therapy in my entire life, you know, and things like that. I tend to, like, when I hear people talk about their therapy, if you're in therapy, you know how therapy goes. It's not anything I have to teach anybody out there that if you've gone through therapy or counseling or life coaching or anything before, right? You know how that goes, okay? When you're sitting there and you're watching a session of what somebody's therapist is telling them to do, and you're like, this doesn't sound right to me. My thought used to go to, they have a bad therapist. My thought doesn't go to that anymore. My thought goes to, they're lying, they don't have a therapist. Because no therapist would tell them that. No therapist with what Colleen Ballinger, no therapist in their right mind with what Colleen Ballinger has gone through and the allegations that she has had would sit there and say, I think you need to find a hobby. What that's doing is victimizing Colleen Ballinger, and that's what she's playing to, right? That's the appeal, that like, look what I went through. It's not about these people and their being victims. It's look what I went through. That my therapist has to tell me to get a hobby. Well, there's no therapist out there in the world that if Colleen Ballinger, if they even read an article about Colleen Ballinger, if they knew anything about her, if she told them anything honestly, would look at her and say, God, I'm so sorry that you went. I mean, there's no way. There's no way a professional would do that. A professional would say, okay, Colleen, like, listen, you came to me to see me for the truth. You came to see me to grow. With those deadpan eyes. Can I respond with a ukulele? They would say, Colleen, you came to me for help. Listen, my job is to be direct and authentic with you, okay? We need to work through the pain. We need to talk about what's going on. There's not a therapist out there in the world that would sit in a room with Colleen Ballinger that she's paying them good money for that would act like this has never happened, okay? So I don't even believe that she's seeing a therapist. But I want to get into this whole situation with this PR stuff because so many people send this to me, and I have to tell you, the video that I was going to do was going to be reading your responses on Twitter when I asked you guys what you thought about this. It's Jaclyn Hill drama coming up because there's a hair hanging off my hat. Probably from them fuzzy lipsticks. But anyway, I asked you guys what you thought on Twitter, and I mean, I'm still getting comments to this day. So I thought about reading through those comments and giving you my responses to your comments, but I think I will do that on Wednesday probably, or Thursday, have that pre-filmed for Thanksgiving, but I'm probably going to take Thanksgiving off. So I'll probably post that video on Wednesday. So just bring on the misogyny comments because Peter Monn's making too many videos about Colleen Ballinger. Well, you can blow that out your ass when Colleen Ballinger has now posted her 3rd vlog in a row, okay? So I could care less what you all think about that. But I do want to bring special attention to the fact of one of the things that has really come as a source of the internet, not only coercive language and manipulation of people that Colleen Ballinger is a huge part of, okay? And when you step back and you look at it and you start looking at other fandoms, you know, like the Shane Dawson fandom and Joey Graceffa's fandom and Jeffree Star's fandom, people I've covered for years, it makes a lot of sense, the coercive language that they use and the manipulation that they do, you know? And it's kind of scary when you look at it, really. Like, our fandom's really cults to some degree, you know? I know people would totally ignore that, but then tell me why rational human beings that go to PTA meetings and take care of their kids and are actually really good parents and have jobs and are paying bills and are being good citizens to the world and are empathetic, you know, caring, compassionate, loving, kind people can sit there and be supportive of Colleen Ballinger. Make that make sense. That almost has to be a cult mentality. I really kind of believe that it is to some degree, you know? Like, I mean, is it a fandom or is it a cult? It's starting to look a little bit cultish to me, in all honesty. So yeah, so I was going to do that video, but I'm probably going to do that video on Wednesday. So she goes in this whole thing. Here, I will show you Mollybmcpherson. I absolutely love her so much. So here's Mollybmcpherson, and I know you couldn't see it very well because I don't have the thing turned down, but oh well, go look her up. I'll link her TikTok underneath this. So she's talking about why it was posted now, and she speculates that maybe, I thought this was interesting, right? Adam McIntyre talked in his video about the reason that it was posted, when it was posted, was because, number one, she knew that it was so late for him in the UK, because I think she posted at like 5 something on, what was it, Saturday or Friday? Friday going into Saturday. And so she knew that Adam McIntyre would probably be out with his friends, which she said he was at a club, and that he wouldn't be able to rush and make a response. I'm not so sure that, I think Colleen Ballinger is worried about Adam McIntyre, but I don't think that that was her first motive. I think her motive was to stay out of the mainstream media. Because if this happened on a Monday morning, let's say, if she posted it, you know, I mean, when you have drama commentary channels that are getting, you know, articles written about them from Time Magazine over a face reveal, you think Time Magazine isn't going to cover Colleen Ballinger? You think that Rolling Stone that covered it, you think all these, which we're not really hearing a lot about now that she's come out, so it worked, right? It worked that she posted on a Friday. And before I get into all of this, of what this PR professional says, what I want to say to you is, in discussing all of this, okay, as a strategic PR move from Colleen Ballinger, it's really proof as to who Colleen Ballinger is as a person, and that she does not care about the victims. She has learned absolutely nothing, and all she really cares about is saving her own ass and making money. She doesn't even really care about her audience, and Mollybmcpherson even says that at the end of this. So, but Adam McIntyre said, you know, that he had talked to journalists, and journalists were saying that as of about, you know, Friday evening, Saturday or whatever, that there's no journalists working at the newspapers and the major publications anymore. They won't be back in until Monday, right? So, which I think is interesting with all of the stuff that happens over the weekend. You would think that you would have, like, major people there that would be working those stories, but, I mean, it's 2023. It's not like, you know, 1952 and we're getting a newspaper in our driveway. Well, I mean, my neighbors get newspapers in their driveways, but they think it's still 1952. So, anyway, but you would think, like, with all the stuff that happens on the weekend, you know, Adam McIntyre had already said that long before Mollybmcpherson came out with her TikTok, that journalists had told him that that was why she came out with a statement then. He also speculated that it was because he wouldn't be able to turn around and respond to it right away. I think that probably plays something into it. I think she was more concerned about mainstream media getting a hold of this story, right? But then Mollybmcpherson says something, and I thought, oh God, this is so interesting, because, like, I was just talking to my husband about this story tonight, about, there's actually 2 things going on right now with Taylor Swift and the Eras Tour, and she's in Brazil right now. And one is that a fan passed away at her concert. It's a huge deal right now, right? Like, if you guys are Taylor Swifties, and, or if you're not, I mean, like, it's everywhere. It's everywhere on every social media app, I mean, even on Instagram, it's coming up, people are posting it. And the other thing is that she had this person that was trying to assault her or trying to hurt or kill. Did you guys hear about this? Like, it's a lot. There's those 2 stories that are going on, and at the exact same time about the Taylor Swift Eras Tour. What Mollybmcpherson suggests is that she could have had this video scripted, filmed, ready to go, and basically was waiting for her PR company to say, this is the right time. That when she was actually thinking about doing it was the Friday after Thanksgiving. because everybody would be around, it would get a lot of attention, it would get a lot of views. The journalists would already be gone for the holiday weekend, so they wouldn't be writing any stories, but she would still get a lot of views on it, and then by Monday, it would die down. But her PR agents probably called her and said, okay, we need to take this moment now when Taylor Swift is going through this, because this is going to get, this is a PR nightmare for what Taylor Swift is going through right now, so this is the moment to release it, right? Like, because this is going to overshadow anything. So it's like, people are really caring about what's going on with Taylor Swift and the Eras Tour right now, and this fan passing away, and her, like, having this other person that was trying to, you know, attack her and things like that. And so many people are talking about that the Colleen Ballinger story over the course of the weekend is going to get lost in the news, right? And then by Monday morning, nobody's really talking about it anymore, and that's what she's banking on. Well, it's going into Tuesday, and people are already done talking about it. So I think to some degree, it kind of works for her, you know? The other thing that she says is that she goes in to talk about how it was a highly crafted, scripted response, which I had actually said in my video. If you've worked to any degree in PR and marketing, or done anything, interviews and things like that, and you have to send questions to people and they send them back to you and whatnot, what you realize is, when you listen to these statements, there's things that they do and there's ways that they do it. Now, she picked up on things that I didn't pick up on, but like from the very beginning, one of the things that Colleen Ballinger does, okay, like, you have to look at the small things she does and why she does it, okay? Like, I would have preferred if Colleen Ballinger said, I've written a few things down, you guys, so, like, I'm going to refer to my notes. That would have seemed more genuine to me than what she does is this. She looks you right in the eye and doesn't split, okay? And the reason that she does that is to prove to you that this is not scripted. This is coming from her head. It's highly memorized, all right? Now, Molly McPherson doesn't talk about that, but that's one of the things that I noticed, which I think is why, like, later in, you know, her video, she's, like, laughing and whatever, talking about the chickens, but at that point, it's like there's deadness in her eyes. Like, there's no life or soul in her eyes, which I don't see often anyway, like when she's in interviews and things like that. Like, I went back and I was watching this Jimmy Kimmel interview that she did. She's soulless in that video. I mean, she's laughing and stuff. She's dead in her eyes. Also, I just want to say this. A lot of people were noticing that she was, and it was interesting the terminology that people were using on the comment section of my video, because they said body check, which I know is a terminology that you use with eating disorders, and body dysmorphia and things like that, as, you know, somebody that has body dysmorphia, as having a husband that has, you know, an eating disorder and has worked on it and has been successful working on it in therapy and things like that, and you know, it's been a struggle for most of his life. That body check thing is interesting to me. That was a word that I kept on getting over and over and over again. So she posts this video, and she's now back on Instagram in her stories, and she's body checking herself in the bathroom mirror. And it's like all these victims, I just felt like so much of what she did was such a fuck you to the victims. When Adam and other victims were talking about how, like, Adam's talked extensively about comments that she would make about body image and things like that, right? And, like, being so thin and whatever. And I don't know, I just was like, so much of what you're doing is kind of like there's like these hidden Easter eggs of fuck you to the victims. And you're an almost 40-year-old woman and a mother, a self-proclaimed mother, okay? James Charles is a self-proclaimed predator. She ain't claimed it yet, but she wants to stand behind this defense of being a mother, you know? Just because you're a mother doesn't mean that you can't be a predator. Just because you're a mother doesn't mean that you can't be a killer, okay? Years and years and years ago, one of my favorite stories to follow was Betty Broderick, who killed her ex-husband and his new wife. You know, there's been a lot of parents that have killed their entire families. You know, let's talk about the Chris and Shanann Watts case. I'm not comparing Colleen Ballinger to that, okay? But there's a lot of parents that have abused people, had criminal past, have stolen things, have hurt people emotionally, have been abusive in relationships. Cry me a river and hide behind this. What you're doing is you're trying to appeal to your audience that you know is mostly mothers. You know that. Making that statement was such a clear sign to me that she realizes she's lost her 18 and under fandom, that they really have listened and said, fuck you, Colleen, we're done with you, right? Because they've sided with the people that are their age. So who's she going to when she says that statement? Mothers. So who are the people that are supporting her? Grown-ass adult women that are mothers. Like, seriously? Like, let's take a look at that. Like, that's who her audience is that she's appealing to, you know? So to those mothers out there that I would say, you know, like I said, these are mothers that are doing fantastic jobs of raising their kids, going to school, going to PTA, having jobs, you know, doing all this kind of stuff, and yet you still support Colleen Ballinger. Like, I don't know how you do that. Like, if it was your own child, you would take huge issue with this. Huge issue with this. But it's Colleen Ballinger, so it's okay, you know? So anyway, she talks about how it was a highly crafted, scripted response, and she goes into explain why that was, and she says there's a big emphasis on professional help. She's showing us how she's changed, and then she talks in there about how her therapist was asking her to vlog during her break. She's using her therapist as an excuse, right? She's saying, well, I'm doing this therapy, I'm doing that therapy, and therefore I've changed. But I didn't see any change in her, okay? Other than having a ukulele in her hand, it was really no different to me than the ukulele video. And Molly McPherson makes it very clear the same way that I did, that there was no apology in this video. There was no taking accountability. She even goes into explain that because of legal counsel and things like that, you're never going to get that from Colleen Ballinger, right? That the first job is to take care of the legality of the situation. Fixing the PR reputation down the road, you can do that down the road. But this is the first thing, right? Is to fix the legal situation. You know, people are like, keep on saying, like, well, these victims this and these victims that, you know, and why don't they sue? I mean, I don't think you guys have any idea how hard these cases are, even with factual evidence. I mean, to win a case like this is like, it's so difficult. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of wish that these victims did not feel that they were losing the next 10 years of their life, and they had massive amounts of money to just tie her life up in a courtroom, to really, to some degree, like, I mean, she doesn't have to pay for any of this, right? Her reputation's hurt a little bit. She's still gonna be, I mean, she's still gonna get a shit ton of views. She's still gonna make money. She's probably gonna go back on tour. You know, it's just like, who really got hurt in this whole situation and continues to get hurt? The victims, right? Lawyer up. I mean, because I'm not even, because I just wish somebody would just hand him $10 million and they could just, I don't know, whatever. Let her slip one time. She'll say something. She'll say something and they'll get her, you know, for saying something about one of them or whatever. That woman, I mean, she ought to be on that show, Snap. She's going to, have you seen her eyes? She's going to snap one of these days. She's going to snap, okay? And she's going to say something and somebody's going to catch it. Trust. Then she goes on to say that the apology in a vlog makes it less of a story. If it was an apology alone, it would make a bigger story. So what she's basically saying is, like, if she came out with a video and she said, like, the high was just high and it was all about the apology, like, her apology, she called it, there was no apology on that, right? So there was so much attention focused on that because it was all about this ukulele song and her addressing the victims and things like that. She comes out with a video, and the video is 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and it's apologizing to my victims. That's going to get a lot of attention. If it's a video that she doesn't apologize, she takes no accountability. Let's just say if she took that 3 minutes and 20 seconds and she called it I'm back. That video would get so much attention. The fact that she mixed it into a vlog, and she even says in there, you know, like, I don't know how to transition in this next part, which Molly McPherson says is such a PR move, because it's like, let me bring you along for the journey, which is something I always talk about in my videos, right? It's a very smart move. And so she's like, it's like, that's her attempt at being genuine. She goes, I can tell you a PR statement when it's crafted. This is a PR statement that was highly crafted and scripted behind the scenes. And that she believed that she, you know, had it, like, queued, ready to be posted at the moment's notice, and that this was, like, the perfect time to do it. What's interesting about this is that there used to be an old tactic with drama channels back in the day. The tactic would be, because so many of us would get called out, I mean, literally, a week wouldn't go by where somebody would say, you need to apologize for this, or you need to apologize for that. So people got so tired of doing that what they would start doing is they would slip it into part of the video, right? So let's say you're going to do a video and your video is going to be about the release of Jeffree Star's new palette, okay? And so you go, today we're going to talk about the release of Jeffree Star's new palette. And, like, I, you know, took the last 2 days off and I really missed you guys and blah, 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 whatever. So we're going to talk about that. And then you get into about a minute and a half of it and you go, but before I do, I really want to, like, you know, address something that's been going on. You kind of downplay it a little bit. You guys, I know that you've missed me. I missed you too. You know, I've been gone for 2 days. I've been reflecting on some things that happened. You know, I said this thing the other day. I said Lipstick Nick, but I meant Nikki Tutorials, or I said Nikki Tutorials, and I meant Lipstick Nick. You guys, I'm really sorry that you took it the wrong way and you didn't hear what I said, which is apologizing for you guys mishearing it, not me. Okay, so you don't really apologize for it. And I hope that it doesn't happen again, which is not promising that it won't happen again. It's saying you hope that it won't. Okay, and then, but anyway, let's go on to the Jeffree Star stuff, because I know that that's what you guys are here for anyway. And then you lead them in the direction of knowing why they're here. A lot of drama commentary channels, many of which are not around anymore, did that in their apologies. Okay, they're not around anymore because it didn't work for them. So we saw that happen, okay? I mean, it was kind of a joke within the drama community back in the day of how they would do apologies. That's what Colleen Ballinger did. It's not even that smart, if you want to know the truth. So then she goes on and talks about how the ukulele video, and I hadn't thought about it this way. mollybmcpherson talks about the ukulele video and how she talks about how embarrassing it is, and she brings attention to the ukulele video. But she goes, do you notice how the ukulele video is still up? And I'm like, yeah, because she doesn't care, because she's still going to make money off of it. What she says is that mentioning the ukulele video makes people want to go back and watch it. It's one of her most highly viewed videos, which means highly viewed videos on YouTube have the best ads on them. So if you go back and you watch her ukulele video, okay, and she also references other videos, she's going to continue to make money on there, right? She knows this. Her doing this video today, which I didn't even watch, about looking at past videos or past, you know, vlogs that she's done or whatever, is going to make people want to go back and watch older stuff of hers. She's putting the seed in it. She's planting the seed of, hey, go watch this video, go watch that video, go watch my old videos, go watch the ukulele video. You get a laugh out of it again. This is the beginning of what I was talking about, where 2 years down the road, she's making jokes about her ukulele video. Now, she's already, and you can fact check this, I've said this for a long time covering Colleen Ballinger. She's already come out and she said that she was embarrassed by that ukulele video. The ukulele video is still up, right? The next thing she'll do is in about 2 or 3 months, she'll say, that ukulele video, like, oh God, I keep it up because just to remind myself of how ridiculous and stupid it was. And 2 months later, her and her friend will be joking about it. Then 6 months down the road, it'll be a birthday cake. And you played ukulele at my birthday dinner. I mean, it'll be something like that. And then they'll all be laughing about it. Colleen Ballinger will have her new career. And while these victims over here being like, does anybody really care that I lost my childhood to this woman? And you know who will allow it? The fans of Colleen Ballinger. So you have a lot of power, just so you know. She goes on to talk about how when people are looking for negative comments, this was interesting to me too, because this was something I talked about in my video where the negative comments. And I got so many people on my video that were like, I keep on going back and looking to see if my comment's deleted. I keep on looking and going back. She goes, one of the reasons she's doing that is deleting, she goes, and she says it, it's not just me, okay? So when y'all want to come for me and say, well, you're a misogynist because you're talking about her deleting comments. I've talked about it with a lot of people deleting comments. I talked about it with Shane and Rylan ad nauseum, okay? But she is deleting comments, and mollybmcpherson says it too, and says you can't find a negative comment on there unless it slipped through. But what she says is, and I think about this, she says when you go back and you're looking for your comment to see if it was deleted or you're looking for negative comments, it keeps coming back to the video, right? And now she's got 3 vlogs up. People are wanting to know if she's deleting comments. So we're going back and forth between all these videos. So you got one person looking for deleted comments, going back and forth, let's say 3 times a day over 3 videos. That's 9 views that they're getting. Multiply that by 1,000 is 9,000. That's a lot of views, okay, to help these videos along. She's like, this is totally a PR tactic to get people to watch her videos. I was like, I had never thought of it that way, which really shows you how money hungry she is. It's all about the money to her. And Molly acknowledges that her coming back is really about the AdSense money and making money and things like that, right? Then she goes on, I thought this was interesting. Oh, no, she says, okay, she hired legal, and this was scripted to not add any additional legal liability. She said, as a PR person, when you listen to the video, she doesn't take any accountability. She does not apologize to the victims. It is highly scripted in a way that she makes you think that that's what you're hearing, but it's to not add any further legal liabilities to what's already out there. Because she hired an attorney, right? Which when you're in a Hollywood scandal, she says, the first thing, when you hire an attorney, like it's bad. Like there's legal issues, right? Which is interesting to me because if she's still consulting with an attorney, what are her fears legally? When everybody's saying, like, and I've even said it in this video tonight, because this is what I've heard, is that the legality of what the victims would have to do, this is very telling to me, okay? That Like, Trisha Paytas is, like, she even said in her podcast that she kind of, like, she hopes that Colleen's doing okay. Or she said something that, she goes, oh, no, I don't. She makes a joke of it. But I think we all know that Trisha probably, to some degree, does, right? Like, we heard her say that in the podcast, and she kind of took it back. And I was like, that was kind of a weird stance. Like, why'd that even come out, right? So I'm not sure that that fence down the road won't be mended at some point. I don't think Colleen Ballinger is worried about Trisha Paytas. I think Colleen Ballinger is worried about these victims, or maybe a victim that has not come out and shared anything yet, right? That maybe she's manipulating still behind the scenes. But if she's worried about the victims and the stories that came out, and she's still consulting with an attorney to put out a statement like this, which is what Molly McPherson says and insinuates, then do the victims have something that they could go forward with in a lawsuit? I mean, if Colleen Ballinger is being careful about it, what's she being careful about? To all of her fans out there that are saying Colleen Ballinger didn't do anything wrong, then why isn't she coming out with a full apology to the victims? Why is legal telling her not to do that? Why is she dancing around the subject of an apology? If she's such a good person, why wouldn't she just come out and say to Adam McIntyre, I'm sorry? Why wouldn't she give him a private apology? She has not given any of these victims a private apology, and that's what they asked for. Why wouldn't she just come out and do that if she wasn't worried about legal? There were no legal implications in it, and she wasn't worried about it hurting her reputation. She was a good person, like you guys all say. She's a really good, caring, kind, compassionate person. Good. We learned that when we got on the bus for first grade. I just said it the other day. We learned how to apologize to somebody. Our teacher would march us up to somebody and say, you're going to say sorry to Johnny and Susie for, pushing them on the playground. Colleen Ballinger is a 36, 37-year-old woman. She ain't learned how to apologize to somebody yet. No, she's not doing that because her attorneys and her PR people, her team, her wranglers, which is what Molly McPherson refers to them as, they're informing her not to. So if they're informing her not to, what that tells me is that there must be something that Colleen Ballinger is afraid of. So maybe the victims have more power than they even know. Maybe they really do have, like, a lawsuit that they could, whatever. I don't know. I've heard that would be an uphill battle all the way. But maybe they have more than they know. Maybe her attorney's telling that. I mean, she hired that Andrew Brettler, or Brexler, or whatever his name is, that was the guy that defended all these other people with sexual misconduct allegations. So you think if somebody knew, then he would know. So if he's telling her, Colleen, you cannot get in a video and apologize, what he's saying is, Colleen, you did something really, really bad, okay? And these victims actually have something that they could sue you for. So if that's the case, and the victims don't even know that, and she's not coming out in a video and apologizing, all these people want to say it's because she's a narcissist or she's a sociopath, or maybe she's just trying to protect herself legally. If that's the case, okay? And what kills me is when people are like, well, she doesn't have to worry about going to jail. Fuck her about that. Like, that's what she's concerned about? Okay, I live in the world of what's the right thing to do, of being a better person, okay? At the end of the day, you want to cry me a river, you cannot get in a video and say, well, first and foremost, I'm a mother that has to take care of our kids, but I have to protect my ass at any expense, okay? No. That's what I proved in my video yesterday. That a mother is somebody that leads by example. A father is somebody that leads by example. I feel blessed in this life that I had two people that led by example. And one of the ways that they led by example was that they were never afraid to admit their faults. They were never afraid to apologize to somebody. They were never afraid to take accountability for something. Okay? Like, that's, when you're a grown adult, that kind of comes along with the territory. Okay? You don't keep on hiding like you're 16 years old. Fucking playing house on YouTube, okay, with some rocks. That was such a diss. That was such a diss to your victims. So it makes me wonder, like, what the lawyers are telling her behind the scenes. Then Molly McPherson goes on, and she says, this is how I knew that it was highly scripted, the whole vlog, not just part of it. That she talks about baking cookies, and she goes in and she looks at this cookie dough, and she's talking about being gluten-free. And Molly says something to the effect of, like, having celiac disease and, like, eating gluten-free stuff. And she holds up this cookie dough, and she goes, oh my God, you can eat it raw. I didn't know that. And Molly's like, okay, anybody that eats gluten-free would know that you could eat that cookie dough. That's bullshit. That's a shout out to the company, and it's trying to get people that are gluten-free to relate to what she's saying, because anybody that was gluten-free would know that. She's like, that was such a highly scripted part of the video. She's like, there's so many moments where she's trying to get people to relate to her in this video. That she's just like this normal girl, you know? Then she goes on to say that, and then she says that alone proves how strategic the video was. She then goes on to say, there was no apology. She glossed over it. She explains that the other video, but she doesn't explain what happened and why it happened. She never addresses what happened with it. She still to this day hasn't in two videos, and people are saying this is an apology and explanation. She's never come out and explained why she was in these group chats. She's never come out and said that she was in these group chats. She's never said what happened with Corey DeSoto and him being in the group chat. She's never talked about Trent Ballinger. She's never talked about the whole Oliver situation. She's never talked about her live show with Becky. She's never talked about any of these things. You guys think she has, that are fans of hers. You've heard her say these things, but she hasn't. She hasn't said any of these things. What she did, and Molly McPherson says this, is she explained the last video, is what she did. And one of the reasons why she does that is for people to go back and go, did she say that in the video? Let me go. This is going to stop. Hold on a second. Okay. It gets people to go back to that video and go, did she say that in the video? Do I need to go back and watch that ukulele video? And it's, you know, the week of Thanksgiving, everybody's home, and then everybody's going to be talking about, you know, Colleen Ballinger, and Grandma's going to be like, what's the ukulele video? Oh, Grandma, let me show you the ukulele video. And every household's watching these videos 20 times, right? Disgusting. It's all about the money to Colleen Ballinger. Then she says in her last point, I thought this was so interesting, she like gets right into the camera, you know? And she said, and I love this woman. I mean, she talks about all kinds of stuff, right? She says her last point, she did it. And the reason why she did this video, this fall vlog, was because she doesn't care. That's what she said. So just like that, because she doesn't care. She knows people hate her, and she doesn't care. This was her goodbye to those people. This is how cold-hearted Colleen Ballinger was. And when she said this, I was like, oh my God, like chills. Like, I agree with this 100%. And what she's saying is, I'm going to keep my diehard fans, and I'm going to look for new people. Fuck you. Goodbye to those people that won't stand by me. That is not somebody that has taken accountability. That is not somebody that is apologizing. That is not somebody that has even thought through or worked on how she's affected these people whatsoever. You will not hear in that video her taking any accountability, because she doesn't. Okay? At all. And the reason why I wanted to cover Molly McPherson's TikTok about this is because she is a PR professional. And she is somebody, not just a drama channel, that's talking about this. And I think it gives validity to the whole ridiculousness of this story. And I love her, because I think she's flawless. But anyway, so I will link her TikTok in the comment section below, just in case you guys would like to know and you want to write it down. It is Molly McPherson, McPherson /PR. And so yeah, so I will put that up there. Thank you to the people that sent that to me. I really, really appreciate it. And in my next video, I will probably be covering your responses, including the people that commented back to me on Twitter, and I said, what do we think about Colleen Ballinger's new vlog? And it was interesting because it's people that don't follow me, and I said, what do we think about the fall vlog from that lady, is what I said. I didn't say Colleen Ballinger. I haven't tweeted about Colleen Ballinger. I said, I referred to her on Twitter as the lady with the fall vlog. And people searched that out, and they found it, and they said, because we love her. Woohoo! Is this an episode of The Twilight Zone? Because it's scary. It's in her eyes. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.